Well, good day to you. It is July the 13th, 2025, and I hope wherever you are, you're doing really well. My name is Gary Willing, and I want to welcome you to Search for Signs. I also want to thank you for making me a part of your day today, listening to this video. But if you're listening to this video for the first time and you want to know more about Maitreya and the Masters of Wisdom, might I suggest doing some research for yourself. Look into this and investigate it for you. That's my only hope. I'm not expecting you or hoping that you even believe me based on the fact that I'm telling you and sharing this information with you. I'm hoping that you look into this for yourself. Check out some information on some websites that I provided links for in the description portion of these videos to get really good background information about the Marshall Plan, about Maitreya, about his priorities, about the many miracle signs, about UFOs, whatever it happens to be. Check it out. Look into it. See if it's true for you. But I would recommend checking out the Share International site first. The link is at the very top because you can get the best background information there than you can anywhere else. Want to come back and join the discussion? Let me know what you think. Post a comment. You could ask a question by posting your question in the comment section. Then I'll try to answer it in the next video. Or you can just email me about something you want to talk about related to this information. Email me, searchforsigns@mail.com. All right, so this whole last week, I was doing meetings on my job with my employees. And typically what I do before we start getting into the nuts and bolts of the business and the numbers and what we need to work on and what we did good and what we're not doing so good with and so forth, I kind of break the ice and kind of just, get the conversation going. I usually ask them some random questions. Like one question that I always ask is, tell me 3 things about yourself, one of which is a lie. And everyone always kind of laughs and we try to pick out which one is the lie or whatever like this. Or if you could go anywhere in the world today, no money's no object, where would you go? Who would you take? If you could take a celebrity, who would you take? And that kind of thing. Anyway, so my mom recently asked everybody in the family, if you could sit down and have dinner with someone, who would you take? Who would you sit down with and why? Right? So I asked that question of a few of the employees at the meeting, and they turned around and asked me that question. And I was honest, and I said, I'd love to sit down and talk with my former guitar teacher who passed away, and I loved him dearly, and he was a great mentor of mine, and I miss him dearly. And I would love to sit down and talk with him just because I loved him so much and loved hanging out with him. But secretly, I was saying to myself, who I'd really like to go out with? It's Benjamin Crum's master. Now, it would have to be a vegetarian dinner because the masters don't eat meat. They actually don't even have to eat, but if they do eat, they don't eat meat. And I probably wouldn't be able to drink in front of them because they're not going to be drinking. So it'd be a healthy meal, probably a lot of Brussels sprouts and alfalfa sprouts and those kind of things. But I would love to sit down and talk with him and hear what he has to say about what's going on today. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I've been recording Benjamin Crum's Masters articles, and I've now kind of moved into A Master Speaks Volume 2, which kind of starts around the time, it's like 2003, I think is when the first article was published in this one. And so right now I'm in the year 2004, and what was going on in 2004 was this war on terrorism with the Bush administration and so forth. Well, I'm going to read an article entitled America Adrift. I just recorded this article for this week, so I always kind of spread out the posting of Benjamin Crum's Masters articles so they're not just coming at you all in one day. So I kind of spread them out. But I did record it, and over the next few days you can hear it if you want. Or better yet, go to the Share International site and go. They have a whole list of all of Benjamin Crum's Masters articles, and you can read these for yourself, actually. That's probably the best way to do it. But I want to read a bit of it because, as the saying goes, history doesn't always repeat itself, but it sure does rhyme. And when I'm reading this, okay, with the exception of the name Iraq, which you could really just drop the Q and add an N and say Iran, because we literally just sent a bunch of missiles into Iran. So you could kind of say the same thing. We are doing the exact same thing that we did 20 years ago, or 21 years ago, I guess, with the Bush administration. And I'm going to kind of read a little bit of it, stop and kind of give my commentary on it, read a little bit more and stop and kind of give my commentary on it. But yeah, like I said, with the exception of the Q in Iraq, everything else is like exactly what's going on today. So I don't need to have dinner with Ben's master, as much as that would be kind of cool, you can really get a sense of how Ben's master through Ben would be talking about today, because it's the exact same thing. We have not learned our lesson yet, for sure. But anyway, so let me read what I said, and you can kind of get where I'm coming from. All right, so it is only a matter of time before the people of the United States realize that they have made a grievous mistake. Let me stop there. Okay, so this week with the Epstein files, what's been going on with that? Well, MAGA world is like starting to realize what a lot of the other people were realizing, is that Donald Trump is not telling them the truth. He is not who they think he was. And they're starting to wake up from this infatuated dream of who and what they thought Donald Trump was. And he sure as heck is not, Rambo with the muscles and the chiseled chest and the Donald Trump hair and the M60 with the bullets. Right, he is not that guy. But that's why people see him, right? I was listening to this influencer, and he was talking about Donald Trump just built this 50-foot Jesus statue on the White House lawn, and I'll never forget this. He goes, "That's my president." Well, that's a lie. It did not happen. You know what I'm saying? But yet that's what they're believing a lie in this guy. And they believe that he was going to expose all the elites and the pedophilia that was going on and all the disgustedness that they were talking about with Epstein and all that kind of stuff. Now they're starting to realize that he doesn't want to talk about it. I wonder why. What's his name? Elon just said, that he's all throughout those files. Have a nice day, DJT, and so forth. And they're starting to realize that, what everybody had been everybody knew all along, other than them, is, he's a part of this whole thing, right? So I heard this other person on this other channel talking about. He goes, "The enemy of my enemy is my Elon." So true, so true. Anyway, so where was I? They had made a grievous mistake. Sure as God made chicken gravy, man, I tell you what. They're starting to realize that they made a grievous mistake. They have reinstated, albeit the aid of many stolen votes, a man and administration dedicated to creation of division and hatred, both nationally and internationally. Does that not sound like Trump? Now, the other thing, too, I want to talk about, because I get grief from even my Share International buddies about this whole thing, is Ben's master shined light on this in 2000, that the Republicans stole the election from the Democrats in 2000. They didn't have to go everywhere to steal the votes. They only had to go to certain spots. And in Florida, they definitely did. And then it came out, after it was too late, that they did steal the election. And then you kind of ask yourself the question, why didn't the Democrats, if they knew this was going on, why didn't they really just put up a fuss, right? Well, I am coming to the conclusion about the Democratic Party, not the left, not the progressives, the Democratic Party, the corporate established Democratic Party. They do not care whether they win an election or not. They do not care. The Republicans really care about winning elections. They'll do anything they can to win an election. The Democrats do not care. And let me know in the comments if you see that this isn't true or is true or whatever. But the Democrats don't care. They only care about grifting and making money off their donors and the voters. That's it. They don't care about instituting any policy that they talk about and they think they, hold dear and stuff like this. Like the environment, like lower medical and prescription costs, like higher wages, like family medical leave, like a woman's right to choose. They don't care about any of that stuff. They only want the money from the voters on this stuff. And every so often, they get their backs against the wall and they got to do something. And okay, fine, we'll give you a little bit of something. And that's about it. And so I think that they probably knew that they lost the election illegally and yet didn't care. And they could just, for the next 8 years under the Bush administration, talk about how bad everything is and get as much money as they can from their donors and their voters. That's pretty much, I think, their strategy. That's just my humble opinion about the Democratic Party. Can't stand either of the two parties, to be honest with you. But I get a lot of flack when I say that, Trump is a projectionist. He projects everything onto other people that he's doing. You can't tell me that that's not true, right? So when he's saying that Biden stole the election in 2020, that Hillary was about to steal the election in 2016, and so forth, and he's still talking about this crap. even though there's been no evidence that the Democrats stole the election. He went to what, 60 some odd court cases with no evidence, and it all got thrown out. He won 0 court cases, and yet he still talks about how it's all been a fraud and a hoax, and the Democrats are stealing the election. It works. It rallies up his base and so forth, but I wouldn't be surprised if they were stealing it. And that's the reason why he won in the way that he won the last time. I don't think he was as popular as people think he was, or his policies especially as popular as they think he was. But again, this is just my humble interpretation. So, where was I? They have reinstated, albeit the aid of many stolen votes, a man and administration dedicated to the creation of division and hatred, both nationally and internationally. If that is not Trump to a T, I don't know what is. He is the poster child of the sword of cleavage, which Ben's Master talked about and spoke about in another article, the creation of the sword of cleavage, where he talked about, well-known figures, past and present, who, whether they were for the good of the people or not, created division amongst the people. And it's all a part of the creation of the sword of cleavage. Jesus said a long, long time ago that he comes not to bring peace, but to bring a sword. To set father against son, mother against daughter, brother against brother, neighbor against neighbor, I think is the saying, right? Or the quote. And people misinterpret it that there will never be peace in the world because Jesus said he doesn't come to bring peace. Well, that's not what he was saying. It's the energy and the love of the Christ that brings to the surface who and what we all are. And that energy is flowing in tremendous potency all throughout the world. And then a figure such as Donald Trump comes on the scene. Well, he just makes it all better because he's dividing the people even more. And it might sound counterintuitive, like why would the love nature of God manifested through the Christ create this division? But according to the masters, it's absolutely essential that we go through this because it's the only way that humanity will realize the choice that we need to make. We're either going to have a future or we're not. We're either going to try the principle of sharing and have a future, or we're going to continue on the way. And what we're doing, and we're going to eventually end all life on this planet. So if we never institute the principle of sharing and the world ends, don't blame me. That you said, Gary, we're going to bring about peace. Humanity has to bring about peace. Now, the good news is, and the spoiler alert is that according to Maitreya, we will. But it's because we're in very much in a very real sense, it's because of the sword of cleavage that humanity will make the right choice, and it focuses on individuals. It could be said that Hillary Clinton is a sword of cleavage in her own way. Obama created division, and so forth. So it's not just the right that's the sword of cleavage, and it's not just Donald Trump that's the sword of cleavage. It's other figures throughout history too. Even Martin Luther King created divisions, but he was for the people. Anyway, now this is something that you could say has been going on today too. They will ruefully watch an attack on their proudly held freedoms. They will see a steep decline in their standard of living as the government of necessity strives to tackle their enormous debts. They will witness a loss of confidence in their currency and a sharp reversal of trade with their traditional trading partners. Wow! That describes exactly what's going on in the world today geopolitically. Exactly. With Trump instituting tariffs on our traditional allies and so forth, and they're like, what are you talking about? And then he says, well, you guys have been doing this to us for so long. Well, I mean, who's the richer nation? United States or Canada? Who's the richer nation? United States or Spain? Who's the richer nation? United States or Mexico? Well, if it was so unfair against the United States, well, wouldn't it be said that they would be a richer country than us? I'm just saying. But, and also too, with the whole, with this big, beautiful bill he just passed, creating another almost $4 trillion to the U.S. debt, right? We're never going to be able to pay this thing off at this point, So, yes, we are seeing a steep decline. We're our currency, we can't. You're making the same amount or a little bit more or even a little bit less sometimes, and you can't get ahead. You know what I'm saying? Because things are more expensive now. I mean, we're seeing this exactly what he was saying. So the calamitous invasion of Iraq will continue to fester both in Iraq and elsewhere in the world, reacting to the fear and hatred which the administration has engendered Almost universally, the tendency will be for people to look inwards and to turn their backs even more squarely on the world. So with the exception of the Q in Iraq, everything else is what's going on today, right? You can just take that Q and replace it with an N. So you could almost read it like I said, the calamitous invasion of Iran will continue to fester, both in Iran and elsewhere in the world. You know what I mean? So that's what we're starting to see, you know. Now, here's the thing that I wanted to kind of leave the discussion with. I don't read the whole thing. I just wanted to kind of stop here because this is something that I didn't need Ben's master to see was a danger. And it started during the Bush administration. It might have even probably started before then, but it really started to kick into high gear in the Bush administration. And we're seeing it really going on to today. It's the American politics being infused with religion and this illusion that Donald Trump is inspired by God. And he wasn't the first one that they've done this to. They did it with Bush. They thought that Bush was inspired by God, that God was telling him to invade Iraq and Afghanistan. Yes, of course my Jesus is going to want that, right? Even though Jesus throughout his entire life talked about peace, turn the other cheek, forgiveness. Those who live by the sword shall die by the sword. Yet they believe, wrongly, that Jesus wanted and spoke to the Bush administration about this. And now we've reinstated a man who they think is more divinely inspired than even Bush. They've even made him out to be more inspired than divinely inspired than him, even though he has none of the qualities that we would look for even in a Christian who goes to church on Sunday and forgets it the other days of the week. They are thinking he is what every Christian should aspire to be: a bully, a name caller, a philanderer, greedy, transactionalist. This is all what Jesus was hoping that we would turn into as a society, right? But a major problem in dealing with this administration is the powerful illusion under which it works, that it is God-inspired, and so in divine grace helping to restore the Christian world and a message to its former power and glory. Thus, has the United States taken a huge step backwards, isolating itself from the true concerns of much of the world: environmental pollution and the demands of a planet suffering under the strain of impending disaster. Wow! I'm going to leave it at that. But I also want to just say this before I end the video. If you're hearing this and it has any bit of truth to you, that it is, I think, all our duty to stand up and speak out for justice and for peace. If you research the Marshall Plan and you look what happened with the nations that participated in the Marshall Plans right after World War II and how it created goodwill amongst nations, and you start to see that there might be truth, even if you don't believe 100%, that the principle of sharing will bring about justice and bring about peace. Talk about it, research it, look into it, you know what I'm saying? See if it's true for you. And if you do, on any level, talk about it on that level. But it's important for us to all understand that we all have a duty to stand up for our future. It's going to take every one of us standing up for our future in order for us to have a future. And listen to your heart. If your heart's telling you that this is true, do something about it. Don't not do anything about it. Please, I beg you. You have something to give that you might not be realizing that you have to give. And even though Maitreya is not out known for who he is, his energy is starting to awaken the hearts of the people. You can see it. Look at it. Look in the news. Look at people who like me. I disagree 100% with, the majority of what the MAGA people are saying. But they want peace in the world. This is what Maitreya has been talking about. And don't be afraid to talk to people about the need for peace, because we all want it. But we don't know how to do it. We don't know what to do. Maitreya has the answer, and the answer is so simple. Just share. Take the resources that a country is just wasting away doing nothing with and give it to another nation. We did it right after World War II, and the results were miraculous. But more importantly, listen to your heart. Maitreya is already starting to awaken your heart. I guarantee you, even though you might have never heard anything about Maitreya, he was already starting to awaken to your heart to about the truth and about the need for peace, the need to solve the environmental problem. Now is the time. Don't hold back. Do something. Anybody, whoever's listening to this, can do something to help. I love you guys very much. Thank you very much for listening, and hope you guys do really well this week, and I'll look forward to putting up a video in the very near future. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Remember to take action and help SOP save our planet. Thanks for listening, and we look forward to talking to you again in future videos.